The Notre Dame football star who says he was the victim of that now infamous online love hoax is coming forward with a story of deception so elaborate it sounds like something out of a rogue CIA operation. In his first on-camera interview since the scandal broke, Manti Te'o says his fake girlfriend would talk on the phone with his mom and text about Bible verses with his dad. And as ABC's David Wright reports, this is the kind of deceit that is par for the course in what's known as catfishing.
Today, the college football star who says he was the victim of an elaborate internet dating scam spoke on camera for the first time since news of the hoax exploded.
This girl who I committed myself to died on September 12th. Now I get a phone call on December 6th saying that she's alive, and then I'm going to be put on national TV 2 days later, and they ask me about the same question. What would you do?
Speaking exclusively to Katie Couric, Te'o said that December phone call was from the woman with whom he'd had an online relationship for 3 years. Te'o thought she was dead, but says she told him she was alive and was not who he thought she was. He says the call left him confused and embarrassed. So at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, December 8th, 2 days after he learned the truth, he was still talking about Lennay Kekua as though she were real.
I'll never forget the time when I found out that my girlfriend passed away, and the first person to run to my aid was my defensive coordinator, Coach Diaco.
You stuck to the script, and you knew that something was amiss, Manti.
Correct.
Why?
Well, if anybody put yourself in my situation, Katie, put yourself in my situation.
It's kind of tough to do that. Not only was the love of his life the figment of someone's imagination, but after she suddenly died at the start of last season, Te'o became the sports writer's holy grail, a football hero who plays on despite a tragic loss.
She made me promise that she said, babe, if anything happens to me, you promise that you'll stay over there and that you'll play. And that, you'll honor me through the way you play.
This was movie of the week stuff.
Was this intoxicating in a way for you, Manti?
I think for me, the only thing I basked in is that I had an impact on people, that people turned to me and for inspiration.
Now, instead of being an inspiration, he's a cautionary tale. The most infamous example of the internet phenomenon known as catfishing.
The term catfishing was adopted to kind of reflect the idea of bringing somebody in and establishing a false identity for bringing a person along as far as possible.
Turns out it's more common than you'd think.
He said all the perfect things. He was really sweet, started talking about the future and my dog playing with his dogs and things like that. So I had fallen for him.
Alex Walters of Oceanside, California, can relate to Manti Te'o. She met a man last Thanksgiving on an online dating site. Emails turned into texts, turned into phone calls. He said all the right things.
He had a job, he had a house. Everybody wants that fairy tale ending, so we're gonna grasp onto it if a guy is telling us how amazing we are and how pretty we are. So I think it's easy to fall for.
But while the relationship quickly became serious, that face-to-face meeting just never seemed to happen.
We scheduled a date, and the day of, I was getting ready, and about an hour before, and he texted me and said he had the flu.
The first of many broken dates. The excuses became more and more elaborate.
He was T-boned by a drunk driver, ended up having a knee replacement. He had blood clots. He fell and had to go back to the hospital. The story just unravels into a ton of different excuses and lies.
Walters started getting suspicious, so she Googled his cell phone number.
So this is the website I was directed to view for more information.
Personal stories from dozens of women, all of them duped by the same guy.
So it was like this perfect guy died. He doesn't exist. Poof, he's gone.
Turns out it may not be a guy at all. Those photos he sent are of somebody else.
That's the guy I thought I was talking to.
Who apparently had no clue his image was being used as the bait. Walter says she now believes her catfish is a woman who lives in Ohio, who's been doing this to people for 10 years.
I really think the only thing she gets out of it is hurting people.
And that may be the biggest mystery. Why would someone do this to somebody else, sometimes for years? In Manti Te'o's case, the alleged perpetrator is this man, Ronaiah Tuiasosopo, and his alleged accomplice.
I don't think anybody knows specifically why somebody would choose to catfish someone. We can only hypothesize that it has to do with power and it has to do with control.
And unless there's a demand for money, it's not necessarily a crime.
It is very unlikely anyone's going to end up behind bars as a result of this case, even if prosecutors decided to pursue this impersonation crime, which would be really tough. It's a misdemeanor.
Maybe not serious in the eyes of the law, but plenty serious for Manti Te'o. Te'o's father told Katie Couric he's heartbroken.
I've known him 21 years of his life. And he's not a liar. He's a kid.
A kid who's now reeling.
What I went through was real. The feelings, the pain, the sorrow, that was all real.
Except that it wasn't real, and that's the problem. I'm David Wright for Nightline in Los Angeles.
Thank you, David Wright. A fascinating glimpse into living and loving in the digital age. Of course, the poster child for the perils of online romance has now become Manti Te'o. And as we said, Katie Couric sat down with Te'o and his parents for that exclusive interview, and Katie is with us now. Katie, you sat there with him and with his parents. Did you get a sense that he was telling a credible story?
Well, I do think that his affection for this young woman was very real. I think the relationship was very real. I think that the pain he endured when he was told that she had died was very real. He played us voicemails, and you listen to their conversations, and it's of a boyfriend and a girlfriend, at least from her end. We looked at phone records, and yes, he stayed on the phone with her for hours upon hours while she was ostensibly in the hospital being treated for leukemia. He would keep the phone on at night and wake up, with the phone at his ear in the morning, and it's strange, believe me, but I think it did happen.
So assuming that he's telling the truth, the schemers here took this to an extraordinary length. So what is Manti and what are his parents saying about the alleged schemers now?
Well, there's no question these people were master manipulators. I mean, the lengths they go are really shocking, to the point where he hears a ventilator in the background when he's speaking to this so-called girlfriend in the hospital. But they were actually, I thought, shockingly magnanimous towards this family. They have kind of expressed their concern for this 22-year-old boy who apparently perpetrated this hoax. So I was actually very surprised to see that, especially given the fact that his family, his parents, were as sucked in as he was.
Katie, thank you, and we will all be watching when the full version of that extraordinary exclusive interview airs on Thursday's edition of The Katie Show.